How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, to give you guys a recap of the Yankees series win against the Athletics from over the weekend, winning 2 out of 3 in Sacramento. And they will be starting a 3 game series with Seattle tonight, beginning tonight. And this is their first West Coast trip of the season. And yeah, it was a good weekend for the Yankees. They probably should have swept the A's if it wasn't for another bullpen implosion in the game on Saturday, but we'll take a series win. So we'll start with Friday's game. So the Yankees won that game 10-2. They got some really good pitching out of Will Warren. And look, I know a lot of people will say, well, it was against the A's. Let me tell you something. The A's, they're not a bad team this year. You look at this team up and down their lineup. I mean, they got a lot of good young players on this team. The future is bright for the A's. And, maybe they're still a year or two away. I mean, they are still, they have a pretty good record right now. So anything's possible. Maybe they could sneak into the playoffs. But, again, that's far down the line. But still, I like the direction that this team is heading in. Now, I'm not particularly fond of the ballpark that they're playing in right now. Right now, they're playing in a minor league ballpark because of, they're in a transition period, waiting to move into their new home out in Vegas. But I like the direction that they're heading in. Now, they might not pay all their young guys when their time is up and they're ready for new contracts. But, for the moment, I think A's fans, they got something to look forward to with this team. But anyways, I thought Will Warren pitched very well. He pitched into the 8th inning. He pitched 7 1/3 innings, had 7 strikeouts. Let's hope he could build off of that. Because Will Warren has been, hit or miss this year. Now, the Yankees, they, designated Carlos Carrasco for assignment, and he cleared waivers. He's now pitching in the minor leagues. So, I mean, we're probably not going to see him again. So, Will Warren is still going to get some runway here with guys like Stroman and Luis Gil, still on the IL. This is his chance to really show what he can do. And, at times he really has shown, hey, I'm a better pitcher than what I was last year. But he obviously still has some work to do. But at least for the moment, this start that he had against the A's, everything was working for him. And the Yankees need that from him because, again, with the injuries that they're dealing with right now, they need to get good performances out of guys that, we didn't expect to really see this year. And, Will Warren, he got his ERA under 5, so hopefully he can continue to lower that ERA and get it below 4. That would be nice, right? But, yeah, everything was working for him, and the Yankees' offense was working as well. And the one player that we want to highlight for this game was Jason Dominguez. 3 home runs in this game, and he didn't just do it from the left side. He had a homer from the right side as well. And, look, this is one of those guys that needs to come up big and be a key player in this Yankees lineup. And, with the offseason that the Yankees had, losing Juan Soto, and we'll talk about him later this week when we preview the Subway Series, he's one of those young guys that needed to step up and be a key contributor in this lineup. And he was that on Friday. And he had a good series overall. Had a couple more hits yesterday, but to see him hit from the right side, hit a home run from the right side, you hope you see more of that because he has not been good from the right side. From the left side, he's batting over 300 still, I believe. But from the right side, I mean, it's the last time I saw it was like he was hovering around 100, and you want to see you want the Yankees to have a good switch hitter in their lineup because it seems like that it's been a while since then. And he has the capability of doing that. And he not only can he do that, but he can also run the bases really well. That's something that the Yankees have really been missing on this team is their ability to run the bases and have speed. Because, for years they have all these guys that just hit home runs and, they don't really run the bases well. But now with, Volpe and Dominguez and once we get Jazz back, you got all this speed in your lineup. That, that really helps. And that can really help in the postseason as well, when you're playing in some of these tight games. But, yeah, Dominguez, it was the Dominguez show on Friday. 3 home runs. One of them was a grand slam. So I think he finished with 7 RBIs on the night. Yeah, it was a great game for him. And that got the Yankees off to a good start in the series. Now, game two, not so much. Carlos Rodon was pitching for them. He was going up against J.P. Sears, former Yankee. There were some former Yankees in this series: J.P. Sears, Gio Urshela, Miguel Andujar. We'll get to Luis Severino in a moment. But some former Yankees. Carlos Rodon has been great recently. Not so much in this game on Saturday. However, he did battle. He did give up a couple of home runs, which has been a problem. He gave up a home run to Luis Arias. He also gave up a home run, a 3-run shot to Brent Rooker as well. But you know what? He was able to overcome that. He was still able to pitch a decent game, which you like to see because, when Rodon first came to the Yankees, a lot of times when things would start to go bad, he would just unravel and things would really get out of hand. But you know what? He still hung in there. He was still able to give the Yankees, a good performance and put them in a position where, they rallied late and they came back and you thought, all right, they're going to win this game. But unfortunately, the bullpen did implode. Before I get into that, though, Aaron Judge, I want to highlight that he did hit 2 home runs in this game. So, he's tied for the major league lead in home runs. I think he's tied with Cal Riley of the Seattle Mariners, who we'll be seeing tonight as the Yankees begin the series in Seattle. But Judge has just been unreal this year. I mean, I don't know what else to say when it comes to Judge. He finally, started. The batting average started to come down a little bit. It was batting under 400, but he got back up into 400, especially with the performance that he had yesterday. But the 2 home runs that he hit on Saturday, the Yankees, they rallied. They got to the A's bullpen, and Oswald Peraza had a 2-run homer that put the Yankees up 6-4. But the Yankees bullpen wasn't able to hold the lead. Fernando Cruz, who has been one of their best relievers all year, got into a little bit of trouble, and then he gave up a home run to Langoliers. And the A's didn't look back. Ian Hamilton came in, and he gave up more runs. So, the Yankees weren't able to overcome it. And, Mason Miller came in and, shut everything down. The Yankees did get a run in the 9th inning off of Mason Miller, and maybe if they were able to keep it at a 7-6 ball game, they could have got that run in the 9th inning to tie it, and who knows what would have happened in extras. But the Yankees usually aren't pretty good, or usually aren't good in extras, except for the game they did win against the Padres last week at home. But yeah, that was a tough loss, and it's just that's one of the things that's frustrating. It did put a little bit of a damper on this series. I mean, again, you'll take 2 out of 3, but I think the Yankees should have swept the A's in this series. But the bullpen just continues to blow these games late, and it's going to add up. It's going to add up at some point during the season. Might not be in the regular season, but when you get to the postseason and you have to go on the road and you don't have home field advantage, you're going to look back on this game and the game against the Padres, the game against the Blue Jays, the Diamondbacks, the Rays. You're going to look back at all these games and say, the Yankees would have held on to these games. They'd be the ones that are hosting these playoff games instead of some of these other teams when we get to the postseason. But again, that is way down the line. But you can't help but think about that. So, yeah, that was a frustrating loss. And obviously, I hope you guys all tuned in and watched my Knicks recap video of Game 3. But this happened the same day as the Knicks Game 3 loss. So nothing went right for the New York Sports Center. I think the Mets lost too. Yeah, the Mets lost the middle game of the series with the Cubs, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. And that was a big series for them. And the Cubs have been a very good team. They were one of the best offensive teams in Major League Baseball. And the Mets won 2 out of 3. So that was a big series win for them. And like I said, we will talk about the Mets when we get to the Subway Series later this week. So you want to tune in for that. Definitely want to tune in for that when I have those episodes come out. But, yeah, it was a frustrating loss on Saturday. Then we get to Sunday, and, hey, they bounced back. They bounced back against an old friend in Luis Severino. And before we get into what happened, look, Luis Severino, appreciate everything he did with the Yankees. It was sad how things ended because, he was a guy that came up through the system and turned into one of the best pitchers in baseball, really. And, he was the Yankees ace for a little bit, and unfortunately just injuries plagued him, and 2023 was rough, and the Yankees ended up letting him go. He went to the Mets and had a good year. Um, and now he's with the A's, signed a good contract with them, but you just wonder what could have been had Severino not have gotten hurt. And I know there are some Yankee fans, some Yankee YouTuber content creators that I watch say, hey, maybe the Yankees could trade for him later in the year. He could be a back of the rotation guy. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that, but based off of what happened yesterday, maybe they don't do that. But no, I will always appreciate what Luis Severino did. He was very good when he was healthy. He was made for the big moments. It's just, again, injuries plagued him. You go back to 2023, like Severino dealt with injuries pretty much every year. And when he would have an injury and he'd be out for a long period of time, he would come back, but he would pitch well. And it finally got to the point where in 2023, he got hurt, came back, and he wasn't able to bounce back. He was not effective. And he would be putting the Yankees behind in a lot of these games. And it led to him being like, oh, well, he was a free agent. The Yankees didn't want to bring him back. And, but, outside of, he's been good on the road this year. They were talking about his splits on the broadcast yesterday. On the road, he's been very good. At home, he has not been good. And he was not good yesterday. He got into trouble pretty quickly, pretty early against the Yankees. They had their way with him in the second inning. First inning, he pitched a scoreless frame. He struck out Aaron Judge, but the Yankees put up a 5-spot in the second inning. They got to him, and at that point the Yankees were going to run away with it. Volpe had an RBI single. Oswaldo Cabrera walked. He had the bases loaded. Severino walked Cabrera. Yorbit Vivas grounded out. That led to a run, and then Aaron Judge had a 2-run single that made it 5-0. The Yankees tacked on a run in the top of the third to make it 6-0. Oswaldo Cabrera doubled. Jason Dominguez, I was talking about the speed that he has. I mean, he went right through the stop sign. He scored to make it 6-0. A's got a run in the bottom of the fourth. Miguel Andujar single to make it 6-1. And then the Yankees had the big blow in the top of the fifth to kind of put this game away for good, and that was the grand slam by Ben Rice. His first career grand slam, and that made it 10-1. And then Paul Goldschmidt tacked on another run with an RBI double to make it 11-1, and then he had a ground rule double that made it 12-2 later in the game. That was in the top of the seventh. The A's got a home run, J.J. Bleday. That was their second run. And the Yankees won. The bullpen and Ryan Yarbrough did a good job. Yarbrough pitched 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Yerry De Los Santos pitched 3 innings of scoreless ball, 2 walks and a strikeout, and then Tyler Matzik, sorry. He came in 1 inning, 1 strikeout, 1 hit. And that's all she wrote. And Aaron Judge, 4 hits yesterday. 4 hits yesterday, 2 RBIs. He's batting .409 on the season. We are almost halfway through May, and he is batting over 400. You thought after the 62 home run year and last year, what kind of performance is Aaron Judge going to put on this year? What kind of year is he going to have? And this could be his best year yet. He could win a batting title. He could win the Triple Crown. I hope he does. And I hope that when we get to the postseason, again, we're fast forwarding to October, but I hope he has an October for the ages. He's due for it, and that's really what he needs, because you still see people on social media, these trolls, talking about what happened in the World Series and trying to tear him down. I just want him to shut these people up. I just want to see that. And so far so good. And the Yankees are going to be getting healthy soon. DJ LeMahieu could be coming back, could be activated tonight, could be in the starting lineup tonight. We will see. I know we're not expecting a lot out of DJ, but I think he'd be a better option coming off of the bench than some of the other guys that the Yankees have on the roster currently. Giancarlo Stanton is on the way back next month, maybe late May, later this month, who knows? But the Yankees are starting to get healthy. They're going to get healthy, and then Jazz, hopefully, at some point, Luis Heel. They got some reinforcements on the way. I know we keep saying this, but they're coming. But Judge is doing well. Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, when they signed him, I think, I was kind of like, yeah, he had a good second half. The Yankees got him on a cheap deal. Maybe it works out. And oh boy, has it worked out. He's been great. He's been great. And the power is starting to come back too. I think he also did have a home run in this series as well. But he was a doubles machine over the weekend. He's been a hitting machine in general this year. I mean, the guy's batting 350 right now. He's been one of their best hitters. Cody Bellinger is slowly starting to get out of his slump. Now he's batting in the 220s. I mean, compared to where he was when he was batting like 180, in the 180s. Now he's starting to, the batting average, the OPS is getting back up there, so that's good. And Jason Dominguez, like I said, he had a great series, and you hope that continues as well. But yeah, I mean, this was a again, the loss on Saturday that stung, but they got the series win. The other thing I wanted to bring up too with this ballpark is the dimensions of the field, because Trent Grisham, I didn't talk about this really at all, but Trent Grisham was just hitting up against this wall constantly. A lot of these balls that you thought would be like routine flyouts, they just kept going and going and going, and they would leave the yard. And because it was on the Langoliers 3-run homer. I thought Trent Grisham was catching that, and that'd be at worst a sac fly. It turned into a 3-run homer. And Trent Grisham got banged up a little bit. He was out yesterday, but I think he should be fine. The Yankees don't want to lose him. He's been money this year. Really turned into the Trent Grisham trade with the Padres. So, but yeah, I think he was just out yesterday. And everybody keeps talking about the logjam that the Yankees are going to have once you start getting Stanton and LeMahieu back. It's how are you going to get all these guys to play? You're going to have to shuffle a lot of guys around. I mean, they're doing that already because, you have Goldschmidt and Ben Rice DHing, and that's going to come into play when Stanton comes back, how they're going to rotate that around with Ben Rice and Stanton. But look at the outfield. Trent Grisham has gotten off to this great start. You want to get his bat in the lineup, and you got to rotate between, Bellinger and Dominguez, and, like I was talking about with the DH, you put Judge at DH, and then now Ben Rice is on the bench. It's just, there's a lot of moving parts. Now, they could also, because Ben Rice did come in at one point in this series to catch, you could see Ben Rice catch sometimes, give Austin Wells a little bit of a break, and JC Escara. Then you keep Ben Rice in the lineup with Stanton. So, and the thing is, though, yeah, it's going to be a problem, but one of the benefits of getting all these guys back is you're going to lengthen the bench. Because the Yankees' bench is not good right now. With Pablo Reyes, Yorba Vivas, I hope he could turn into a good player. JC Escara, hey, he came up big last week with the sac fly. But the Yankees need a better bench right now. And I think when you have LeMahieu and Giancarlo Stanton and Jazz eventually, now Jazz is going to be in the starting lineup basically every day, the bench is going to look better. So, yeah, but it's going to be a problem, though, because it's like, how are you going to get everybody in the lineup? But that's one of the things you could look at and say, hey, the bench is going to be better. You're not going to have Pablo Reyes coming off the bench. I don't know what they're going to do with Peraza. Could they trade Peraza? But he did have that 2-run homer, which you like to see. And he plays good defense, but I don't think he's going to be with this team long term. He might be somewhat that they decide to move. But things are looking good. The Yankees are 6 games over 500 right now. They're in first place. I think they're 2 games up on the Red Sox in the AL East. So, look, as Aaron Boone likes to say, it's right in front of them. Or it's right in front of us. But it's right in front of them. They just got to continue to keep playing good baseball. It's a long season. There's going to be ups and downs, and we got to learn to live with it. Like this is what happens. This is what this team does every year. They're going to have those rough stretches that we're just going to have to, weather the storm and get through it. And then they play some good baseball. Now they've won 2 straight series. After dropping a couple of series in a row, now they've won 2 straight. Now they're going to be playing Seattle, and, Seattle's playing some good baseball. They got some good pitching that the Yankees are going to see in this series. And, let's see what they could do. And then they come home again for the third or fourth time I'm mentioning it in this episode. The Subway Series is coming up. So let's see the Yankees, what they do tonight, what they do in this series. Let's end this West Coast trip on a high note and carry that momentum from the A series. But let me know what you guys think about this series. What are you most looking forward to with this series with Seattle coming up? Who do you think is going to have a big series? Let's see Jason Dominguez. Let's hope he continues what he did against the A's. Aaron Judge, we know he's going to do his thing. But the starting pitching matchups tonight in Seattle, I think tonight it's going to be, I think it's Clark Schmidt tonight. It's Schmidt, and then tomorrow is Max Fried, and then Wednesday is Will Warren, and then for the Mariners they got Emerson Hancock. He's pitching tonight. Then Brian Wu is pitching tomorrow, and then Luis Castillo is pitching on Wednesday. So those are who the Yankees will be seeing on during this series with the Mariners. So, yeah, let's go Yankees. Make sure to check out the Knicks recap if you didn't get a chance to watch that or listen to it. Yeah, let's hope for a good night in New York sports. Let's hope the Knicks win tonight. Let's hope the Yankees win tonight. And if you're a Mets fan, for you guys, hopefully, the Mets do good. Actually, are they? Actually, quick. Well, let's make sure the Mets are on tonight before I continue. The Mets, actually, yes, they will. They will be at home against the Pirates. Clay Holmes. Nope, that's Wednesday. Never mind. Paul Skeens. They'll be going up against Paul Skeens tonight, so I need him to do good for fantasy against David Peterson, who's been good for them this year. So, yeah, again, go New York sports. And that is pretty much it. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow with a Knicks recap and a Yankees recap. So make sure to be on the lookout for those. And yeah, so I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off. Have a good one, and I will talk to you guys next time. Take care.